Hi fish fans, it's Raina the mermaid. I'm a professional mermaid for the past 16 years in Nova Scotia, Canada. And throughout this entire time, I have been documenting my experience trying to build a business, trying to be a mom and juggle that business all through YouTube. I really believe that in order to make the quality of the community better, to make safety better, and to reach a higher quality of service that we are providing as professional mermaids, that we really need to share tips and tricks, that we really need to teach others and empower others. So whether you are a professional mermaid, or you are a recreational mermaid, or you're even thinking about being a maker, I hope that there's something for everybody in my videos. Please like and subscribe. If you want to not miss a video, you can hit the bell if you'd like to get notified. I also have all of my social media links down in the description if you would like to join me on Facebook, Substack, Blue Sky, Threads, any of those places, you can catch me there. I try to bring the unique perspective of being both a working mom who's been doing this for a long time, so I've got the experience of being a mermaid before becoming a parent and then after becoming a parent. And I've also got the unique perspective of being Canadian. We face different challenges trying to be professional mermaids, especially around our weather and traveling, things like that. So if that kind of thing interests you, my channel is the one for you. Today, I'm talking about the universal problem so many merfolk have. You are either a sinky mermaid who sinks very easily, or you are a floaty mermaid like me, who can practically be a life raft for other people. I have tried many different techniques to help me sink underwater. In fact, not being able to sink impacts my ability to kick properly in a mermaid tail. And the problem that I have, which I've spoken about in other videos, is that my fin tends to come up high and float high. So this is the floatiest part on me. So though I want to swim like this and have this nice rhythmic wave movement, I end up swimming like this with my tail kind of trailing behind me. And I'm using a lot of effort and force to try to fix my kick, and I just end up running out of oxygen and energy a lot faster than other mermaids. However, when I add a weight belt or some form of weight to the mix, and it can even be just a heavier monofin, like my Mertailor monofins that I love using, the fantasy fins, or a heavier tail, like a silicone tail in comparison to a fabric tail, sometimes in pools and freshwater, that is enough to help me sink and get back into a more level swimming position. Or if I'm modeling, it can help me get to the bottom of the pool, hold my breath longer, and do whatever pose I'm going to do, as opposed to my trick that I learned from Brett Stanley, where I am exhaling most of my air, or maybe half of it, and I'm sort of raising the roof with my hands to get down into a pose. If I don't have a weight belt, I will often swim while exhaling more of my air so that I can sink a little bit better. And I've sort of trained myself to be able to swim using less and less air. This can be a really great technique for modeling, but it's not a great technique for swimming because you run out of air faster, you run out of energy faster, you can't stay down quite as long. If you're modeling, you're not really swimming and moving and using a lot of energy, and you tend to have a safety person right next to you. So letting out your air to sink and do your pose and then just coming back up all in the span of 10, 20, 30 seconds, that's perfectly fine. And I've got videos where I share tutorials on how I learned this when I went on a workshop with world-renowned underwater photographer Brett Stanley. I went to Mexico, so there's a whole series of videos about that. And then I also show it in my tips for modeling and other tips I've done for sinking. Weight belts are a whole other thing. And if you take a freediving course or a scuba diving course or even a mermaid course, they can help you figure out the right amount of weight that you need to be wearing. I want to give the safety disclaimer before I get into this video that using a weight belt comes with risks. You're gonna sink. So you need to be able to get out of that weight belt quickly if you need to ditch it, which is something that freedivers and scuba divers will learn. And you also have to give consideration to the fact that someone may need to rescue you. So they may need to get the weight belt off of you faster. And if you're going to be wearing a weight belt in the water, even if it's just in 4 or 5 feet of water in a pool, you should still have a safety person with you. When you see my videos, You often don't see another person with me. That doesn't mean they're not there, they're just not in the shot. Often my husband is being my safety person, but there have been times where I've hired my friend Kate, who is a former lifeguard, and she will be right there watching me. Also, if you are swimming as a mermaid and you've taken a PADI mermaid course, they actually do teach you to swim in the buddy system. So there are videos of me with my friend and instructor, Alana. And you see me go down, and Alana's not in the shot, but she's actually at the surface watching me and swimming along the surface just as if I was freediving, so she can come down and grab me if I need help. So that's my safety disclaimer. Just like anything I share with you on YouTube about mermaiding, you really do need to be taking all the appropriate safety precautions, and that starts with taking some courses and doing things safely while you're trying these things out. So today I'm going to show you a cool new weight belt I've been using. Now, traditional scuba weight belts, I've done tutorials with them before. There are a lot of tricks on the internet that mermaids do. Sometimes mermaids will take an individual weight and wrap it around their leg. I know Hannah Fraser, when I did a workshop with her, she actually had like flat lead cut in the shape of her fin or in the shape of feet for inside booties, and she'd put them inside her fin to help her sink in the ocean and give her the weight where she needed it. She did this beautiful video that you can see on her YouTube, Dancing with Sharks, and she adapted the boots she's wearing to be lead boots to help her sink. Now, you don't really want to put lead right on your skin. That's why it's really good to have things that are encased in something else, because lead poisoning is a thing, but it does tend to need to be lead in order to help you sink. I have seen a lot of beautiful weight belts that merfolk have made, and they've crafted them, and they've put silicone casing over it, or they've put actual seashells over it, and I've made old videos with those before. I did have belts like that for a while, but I found them quite kind of cumbersome to be on the outside of my costume, and I didn't like the way they looked. So I would often wear regular weight belts inside, but they would look bulky and you would see the shape, or I would literally just drop weights inside my tail, which I did in the dive bar, and I overshot it and put too many weights in the tail and actually had a lot of trouble getting it up. I was safe and I was fine, but I was having all this trouble trying to get the mermaid tail up. So that's another story, and you can actually see that video on my YouTube as well. So this weight belt that I have here, I was introduced to this by Mermaid Krista, who's in California from the dive bar. I usually visit California every year for the California Mermaid Convention, and this year in 2025 we didn't go because of kind of all the tensions between our two countries, everything going on with the tariffs, the airspace, all that stuff was just a mess that I did not want to get involved in. However, I do really, really miss my merfolk friends in California. And Krista had this phenomenal weight belt, which I have seen on the internet before, and one of my mermaids, Mermaid Nova, had tried it out as well, but I had never gotten a chance to try it. You have to get them to be the right size for your body, otherwise they can end up being too small or too big, and it just so happens that Krista and I are the same size. Now, the reason I like this, it's called W8 Fit, so weight fit, and it's meant like a fitness belt that you can wear when you're jogging or working out or anything like that, in order to add some more resistance to what you're doing. And there is a lot of research I've been learning about recently for actually menopausal women, that using weight belts, using weighted vests, using ankle weights, stuff like that, it actually helps their bones retain and make calcium and collagen, and it can ward off osteoporosis as menopausal women age. So that's actually kind of like a cool little tidbit that I recently learned. So if you're perimenopausal, you might want to get one of these. They can help. The reason I really like this though is it almost seems like it was made for mermaids. It has a neoprene covering, which means it is totally safe to go into the water, and the weights are flat. You can adjust the amount of weight to suit what you need, and that can take a little bit of experimenting in the pool. It actually has flat weights inside it, and they come with extra when you buy them. So I got to try Mermaid Krista's weight belt and I tried it with my fabric mermaid tail, and I'd seen her use it with her silicone mermaid tail. It can be a little bit tricky to put it on and smooth everything out and make sure it's looking nice and flat. There is a tiny bit of a noticeable difference in the fabric when you're wearing it, but it's actually not easy to see at all with silicone. It can just be tricky to get your waistline over it. I find it a little bit helpful to put the weight belt on and then put leggings on over top of it and then the tail, and it kind of smooths the area out. When I am wearing it for photography, I will go in with a clone tool and edit out the little bumps so that you don't really see the shape of it. But I do find that when I'm showing it in video, I look a tiny bit bulkier in the waist, and I don't mind sacrificing that in order to sink. So this weight belt, one of the really important features of it is that it does have a very easy Velcro. You want something easy like this so that you can release the weight belt in an emergency. And if you're wearing it inside the tail, you need to be able to reach down and rip this off and ditch this thing if you need to. So this is a skill that you need to practice. You need to be in shallow pool water with a safety person, figuring out how much weight you need to sink without sinking. We don't want any dying mermaids here. And you need to be able to practice ripping this off and doing this skill. There's a very easy loop on the other end, so you can loop it through. And the tricky thing for me, after I tried this at Mermaid Krista's, I loved it. I was addicted. I could not easily find it in Canada. I had to buy it from Amazon American, and that meant that the conversion rate was a little bit higher. I had to pay shipping fees, and I luckily ordered it just before the tariffs went into place, so I didn't have to pay tariffs. But if you're Canadian, it might be tricky to find this at a reasonable price without those markups. The website for it does exist, and you can order it directly from the website. I found it a little bit cheaper to go the Amazon route, and the shipping was included for it as opposed to having to pay the shipping separate if I went through the business. This is sort of the world we're living in right now with tariffs and international buying, and hopefully by the time you see this video, maybe that won't be an issue anymore, but who knows. Anyway, I think this is really great. I loved using it at Krista's, and then I took it to my own pool and I practiced using it. And I've got a few videos here showing a demonstration of how well it's hidden underneath the tail, how I can get it off and on very easily. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to edit this so that on one side, you're going to see me swimming without a weight belt. And on the other side, you're going to see me swimming with a weight belt. And I took this video with my Insta360 camera, which is a really cool camera. They don't pay me anything to say this, but if you are interested in my footage and you want to try one of these out for yourself, I have all these discount links. If you see them in the description below and the camera or accessory that you want is not there, feel free to message me and see if I have another discount link I can give you. Sometimes it's not a discount, sometimes it's just like, oh, if you buy this, you're gonna get this free if you use the link. I mean, hey, it's great. I don't always get a kickback for it. Sometimes they just give me like credit on my account, and then after I build up enough credit, I can use it for a discount for myself. I would really like to replace the housing on mine because I scratched it, so, you know, helps you, helps me. So look at these two videos compared side by side, and you can see there is an obvious difference. I have a lot more control when I'm wearing the weight belt, and I'm not fighting against the tail quite as often the way I would be without it. Now, wearing a weight belt is increasing your resistance, so you are going to work a little bit harder while you're swimming for most people. What's funny for me is when I have this entire thing on, and I think it's about 8 or 10 pounds of weight, I still don't fully sink. And in order to do some of my modeling photos that I did during this time, I still had to let a little bit of air out. But you don't really want your weight belt to be super intense and heavy because it can just increase the danger. Like if you were to take a scuba course, a freediving course, they're not going to have you use the maximum weight. It's always going to be the least amount of weight you can get away with. Now, a funny little feature that I'm going to point out because I'm literally having trouble with it right now, it's a pro and it's a con. The back of the weight belt where you keep the weights, it has this great lip to make sure the weight doesn't fall out. And this is really great for mermaids who are doing flips and dives. Those weights are not going to fall out. The problem I'm having with it is that the lip on the fabric is so good that I'm having trouble getting it back in. I do have dyspraxia, so sometimes these things are a little more difficult for me, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have to ask my husband to put it in. If you need a lot of weight, there's space to double these up inside, which is really cool. Now, I am not affiliated with this company in any way, shape, or form, and if you found another version of this weight belt, go for it. I think the idea I'm trying to get across to everybody is that there are more options out there than the traditional ways that we've seen weight belts, and also we should be aiming for the safest approach to wearing weights. I know back in the day when mermaiding was really new, people just did whatever they could, but it is really dangerous to kind of hide weights in between your legs and then go into the open ocean, you know? It's a little less dangerous if you're in a tank and somebody's there to help you, or you're in a pool and somebody's watching you the whole time. But I have seen mermaids just drop free weights into their tails and go into the ocean, and that can just be so dangerous. So just always remember safety first. No photograph is worth your life, okay? No gig is worth your life. Be careful. But I definitely think weight belts like this are a fantastic thing to add to your arsenal, and you can combine them with the other techniques like the breath holding and releasing techniques I've shared in other videos. If you like this video and you found it helpful, I really appreciate your comments telling me that. It's so great to see views and thumbs up, but without the actual feedback of what you find beneficial as either a pro mermaid, a recreational mermaid, somebody who's just interested in merfolk, I really want to hear from you. So let me know. I have all kinds of knowledge that I want to share with you, and it's important for me to know what is important to you. That way I'm spending my energy on the right things. So thank you again so much. I appreciate you subscribing to me. Not a lot of people see my long form videos anymore. It's mostly focused on my short form, but I keep making these long form videos, even though they take a lot of time and energy, because I really just want to document our industry as it grows. And I really do care about our industry a lot, so much. It's why I'm still here. And I want people to be empowered. And I want you to go out there and try the mermaid tails. And if floating too much is something that really holds you back the way it held me back because we had no options when I started, then I'm hoping these tips and tricks are going to be good for you. Thank you so much for watching. Best fishes.